Good evening, everybody. The date is May 2nd of 2016, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Nick of Time News Show. I want to thank you for tuning in. As always, I'm your host, Nick Dorsey, and I do hope that you had an excellent weekend. I want to thank you for tuning in on this fantastic Monday. I have a great show lined up for you today. First, before I get started, I just want to make sure that you are following me on Twitter at NickOfTimeNews. Please take a moment. Make sure that you are following me. And I do apologize. I do have a little bit of a raspy voice thing going on. And I'm going to go ahead and try to work through it because I have some things that I'd like to share with you today. Again, though, Twitter at NickOfTimeNews. I give live updates, some funny one-liners, some commentary, video updates. You definitely do not want to miss out on that. Now, I do want to start with some brief corrections for my Saturday show. I'm going to try to make this show quick, so I'll try to run through these. I do want to mention that my over the weekend show, I had said that Brian Hoyer, who was the previous quarterback of the Texans, was re-signed by the Texans after they did not get Connor Cook. I was wrong. Part of the problem in giving you breaking news is sometimes stories do turn out to be rumors. I apologize for the error, but I did want to let you know that it was in fact the Chicago Bears that signed Brian Hoyer to back up veteran quarterback Jay Cutler. I also mentioned by mistake that the Oakland Raiders had traded up in the 7th round for the Michigan State quarterback. I was actually wrong. They traded up with the Browns. They traded their 4th and 5th round pick to move up in the 4th round to pick 100, and that is where they got the Spartan product, and that is Mr. Cook. So, should be interesting to see how all that plays out. I do want to go ahead and move on to some major news stories that are breaking today. Looks like a New Mexico mother is in some legal trouble. She was convicted today of creating a public nuisance. She was sentenced to a $29 fine and 30 days in jail because she posted on Facebook. Yes, Janet Garza Alvarez, possibly Jeanette, wrote a Facebook status in regards to some 8th graders bringing guns and shooting students to her son's school. Never a good idea. She never went to the police with the information, and she caused parents to panic. After word spread, more than 100 calls were made to the administrative office of the school, and at least 160 students missed school. Alvarez claims that she was just trying to gather information about the rumor, but the police advised her that it was definitely the wrong way to handle the situation. Seems like a little common sense was in order. Ted Cruz is making headlines today as Carly Fiorina, his VP candidate, fell on his campaign stage and he appeared to completely ignore her. I had mentioned on my second show there was some good desperation going on in the Ted Cruz camp. First, of course, he didn't bow out of the race as he instructed John Kasich to do. When he got the correct number of delegates, when getting the correct number of delegates was impossible for Kasich moving forward, good old Ted was right there to whisper over his shoulder and suggest several times that he should drop out since he didn't have a real chance outside of a contested convention, which looks less and less likely with every Trump victory. Now that Ted Cruz can't win with the right number of delegates, he refuses to take his own advice. In fact, he very hypocritically partnered with John Kasich when he realized that he wasn't going to get enough delegates, and then shortly just abandoned the idea altogether. Then he was called out by the former Speaker of House, John Boehner, and then he lied about knowing John Boehner. Now he's actually been the first candidate to select a running mate. Oh, my gosh. Sheer desperation. Fiorina was selected some time ago, but was not even speaking on his behalf. And what I can only assume was actual response to criticism of her not speaking on his behalf. Fiorina was finally giving a speech on Cruz's behalf and she fell at the end of the speech while she was introducing him. Now, Ted is getting heat from voters and the media because he didn't even double glance at her. Didn't even barely look away from the voter he was talking to, and he just let somebody else go pick her up off the floor. Ted, some sound advice, it may be time to go pack it up. If he doesn't drop out at the point of Trump getting the needed delegates, he's only going to open himself to more criticism, and he may even do more desperate things in the chase to get the actual Republican nomination. I hope for his sake he does a smart thing, but we shall see. Now, most voters have written off the contests, assuming that Hillary versus Trump is the outcome. Bernie Sanders over the weekend, though, made some statements to the contrary. On Sunday, Sanders came out and not only seemed confident, but promised that there will be a contested convention. Now, in terms of pledged delegates, he is trailing Clinton 1,318 to her 1,645. In a convention, you need at least half, which is 2,383 for Democrats. There are still 1,243 available. However, it would be hard for Hillary to get the pledged delegate count without her super delegates. Technically, she can still get the regular amount of delegates required, but it is unlikely because she'd have to win at least every state. And if she doesn't win every state, then in the larger delegates, she would have to win by some pretty big landslide victories, especially over California, since they have over 500 delegates to give. Since, like I said, that's not likely, it does look like it would have to go to a contested convention, but the fact that the superdelegates have backed her from the beginning kind of just makes it seem like it's going to be hers for the taking. However, Sanders is making the case to the superdelegates that if they're in a state that he won the majority and sometimes the landslide majority for, they really should switch their allegiance to him. One way or another, there's little doubt that Bernie is facing an uphill battle like never before. It will be interesting to see what happens in the coming months and at the Democratic National Convention. Now, before I wrap up the show, I did want to do a short commentary for you on a viral clip that surfaced over the weekend. The clip, which I will play for you, shows Alexis Bloomer from Texas taking it upon herself to satisfy every stereotype on millennials and giving her opinion on why the millennial generation is just, well, so darn messed up. This was her spiel. I'll go ahead and play it for you.
If you guys have anyone on your social media, like I do, that's over the age of 40, you've probably seen them post at some point about how much our generation sucks. Well, as a millennial, I took it upon myself to try to evaluate what's so wrong with our generation and why they're so mad at us. And then I pretty much realized that we're just existing. We're not really contributing anything to society. Our generation doesn't have the basic manners that include no ma'am and yes ma'am. We don't even hold the door open for ladies, much less our elders anymore. We listen to really obscene music that degrades women and pretty much glorifies drugs and crime. We start to cuss now to prove a point. We use words like bae to describe someone we love. And we idolize people like Kim Kardashian, and then we shame people like Tim Tebow. We're lazy, we're really entitled, and we want to make a lot of money and have free education, but we're not really willing to put in the work. We spend more time online making friends and less time actually building relationships. And our relationships appearance on Facebook is more valuable than the foundation that it's actually built on. Our idea of standing up for something we believe in means going on Facebook and posting a status with your opinion. And we believe the number of followers we have reflects who we are as a person. We don't respect our elders. We don't even respect our country. We're stepping on our flag instead of stepping up to volunteer. And we mock the men and women that are fighting for us, but we praise the people that are fighting each other, guys. We're more divided as a country than ever before. And I think our generation actually has a lot to do with that. Everything that used to be frowned upon is now celebrated. Nothing has value in our generation because we take advantage of everything. We have more opportunities to succeed than any of those before us, yet we don't appreciate the opportunities we have now. Now I guess I see why people call us Generation Y. Like, why are we so entitled? Because we don't deserve to be, and we were raised better than this.
What? What? First and foremost, please, speak for yourself. By the way, if that sounded rehearsed to you, it's because she was reading off of cue cards. So she had prepared everything that was being said. Now, before I get into the general reasons of why she shouldn't be talking about this kind of stuff, and why she was wrong, I can just get into my reasons. I'm in the millennial generation, and I do hold the door open for anyone that's behind me, not just women. And I do say ma'am and sir for people that I do not know very well. The music I like has no words, and while I get that's like a new generation type thing, you can't stereotype everyone's music as being violent and, causing a bunch of people to do drugs. I mean, look at the music from the 70s. That wasn't all clean. I mean, there was a ton of references to drugs and violence if you look close enough. So I just think that is definitely nonsense. We idolize people like Kim Kardashian. No, I don't. We're lazy and really entitled. Lazy? No. We mock the men and women that go out to war. Are you serious? The only way I can even wrap my head around that one is if she means we're mocking them because we don't believe in the war that they're fighting, which is two totally different things. I don't have to believe in invading Iraq to thank someone for their service. My dad was a Marine for almost 10 years, and he even saw some time in Vietnam, and let me tell you, I have never, ever, ever seen any of my friends or peers mock him. So I don't know where she's getting off on being able to say, that's the kind of things that are going on in this generation. Because I got to tell you, I do not think so. But on a greater scale, I would just like to say, just stop. Please just stop this nonsense. I hear these stereotypes all the time. Each time is more frustrating than the last. And there's nothing to back up what you're claiming. It is statistically factual in both number-wise and percentage-wise. Millennials have the most college graduates in any American generation so far. And that's a true statistic, even though college is more than double what it was even just 25 years ago. And that's if you count inflation. Also, for the same jobs that our parents had, we're getting paid at least 20% less. And lastly, besides stagnant wages, the cost of living is higher than it's ever been before. And, moving all the manufacturing jobs out of the country, starting all these wars and getting us into a ridiculous amount of debt, putting this country into its current state. I'm sorry if it's painful to hear, but most of that had nothing, and I repeat, nothing to do with millennials. Sure, we may text more, we may be on Facebook more, but the reality is that millennials are more educated, we work hard, and we are dealing with some of the worst economical situations this country has ever seen. I'm not saying there hasn't been worse, but the way that everything is right now is amongst the worst. There are bad, lazy, and rude people in every generation, and if there's one thing I'm tired of, it's watching my generation take all the heat. That's all I got to say. If you're going to speak for everyone, just make sure that what you're saying is legitimate, one, and two, can be based in some kind of factual statistics. And I cannot think of one thing that was said that can be based in factual statistics. But if you can, now would be an interesting time to tell me on Twitter at NickOfTimeNews. Tweet me, email me, NickOfTimeNews@gmail.com. I'm always open to corrections. And as always, I want to say share this video, share this audio. Please find some time to donate to the campaign as well. The link will be in the description as always. And I want to thank you for tuning in to the Nick of Time News Show. And of course, for your continued support. This has been your host, Nick Dorsey. Until next time.